But Janielle, please take it away.
Hi, everyone. It's a great privilege to be able to share about our work here at the Afghanistan National Institute of Music. We've actually had quite a rough week because we haven't been able to go to school for the past week due to the situation here and the insecurity. So nevertheless, I'm really excited to be able to share about what we do here and some of the ongoing challenges that we face, and to share some stories about our brave students, including the one that you had just seen in the video before. So what we do here at ANIM, since the inception of the school in 2010, it was really to backtrack from that and to share a bit about the context. Afghanistan was under Taliban rule for 5 years, and for those 5 years, from 1996 to 2001, there was a complete ban on music, on dancing, on kite flying, on chess playing, on all the different forms of leisure that we have in society. There was a ban on a lot of those things. And during that time, and also the years before that, during the Civil War, a lot of musicians fled the country, instruments were destroyed, and you could say during those years, it seemed like there was a complete silence on music. And so in the years after the Taliban was overthrown, our founder, Dr. Ahmad Sarmast, came back to Afghanistan. He's Afghan, and he wanted to revive and also salvage and preserve Afghan music. And he did that by actually working hand in hand with the Ministry of Education here, and with the support of some international donors, including the World Bank. ANIM was started in 2010. And since then, we have been a safe haven, really, for students all over Afghanistan, regardless of their gender, their ethnicity, their religious sect, or their social economic circumstances. So what we do here is really to provide a safe space, especially for girls and many of the disadvantaged children. So a lot of our students are from local orphanages, or they have been brought in by organizations like Save the Children, and they had been taken off the streets where they had been working. And what we aim to do in our school is to assure the musical rights of these children. And we really believe that playing music, music making, music education should be a basic human right. And of course, in our long-term plan, it is also vital for us to train future music educators with the students that graduate, and also to lead cultural diplomacy between Afghanistan and the international community by showing a different side of Afghanistan. That is our founder, Dr. Ahmad Sarmast, at the Polar Music Award last year, sharing about the impact of music in Afghanistan. So a bit about our institute. We're actually an academic and music institute. So students from grade 4, which is around the age of 10, until grade 14, are learning their normal school academic subjects like science, maths, and we have local Afghan teachers who are teaching those subjects, including English, Dari, religious studies, and all of that. And then in addition to that, we have music subjects like music theory, musicianship, composition, orchestration for the older students, and the like. And each student, when they enroll, they get a chance to choose an instrument, whether it's an Afghan traditional instrument or a Western classical instrument. And then they have weekly lessons on that with their respective teachers. And everyone is part of an orchestral ensemble or a chamber music ensemble that may be Afghan traditional music ensemble or a string trio or something like that. So, and I wanted to mention a bit about how our students practice, because a question may come up. So our students actually, most of them are not able to bring instruments home, and most of them cannot afford to buy an instrument. And the reason for not being able to bring instruments home and practice at home is because it's actually dangerous for them to carry an instrument. Even a small instrument like a violin or a flute may arouse suspicion, and quite a lot of our students unfortunately cannot tell their extended relatives or their neighbors that they're actually studying at a music school. So they have to stay at school to practice, and as a result, yeah, a lot of them spend a lot of time at school, and hence that's why I said it is a safe haven for many of our students. So some of the issues that we aim to address are really big time issues that are still, ongoing challenges in this society that we're in. And the top of the list would be bridging ethnic divisions and building understanding between students who come from completely different parts of Afghanistan, who look quite different from each other, and who may never had interactions with this other tribe outside of our school. And so that's something that through our orchestral program and through studying together, eating lunch together, and making music together, that's one of the things that we are addressing, through our music program. And one of the things that astounded me when I first came to the school. So the next thing that is very important is promoting girls' education and gender equality. And we really try to make sure that as many girls as possible get the chance to study music at our school. So we may give them a first preference in many situations, because outside of coming to our school, they may never ever have the opportunity to complete their studies, much less to play music. And as I mentioned before, reviving Afghan music traditions, it involves creating opportunities and for Afghan musicians in post-Taliban years. And that is something that's quite challenging because of the socioeconomic situation and the security situation. So a lot of the times, like Afghan musicians do not have the opportunity to perform or to get paid for the music that they make. And there's professionally, there are very limited opportunities in that arena, unfortunately. Finally, a challenge that we are facing now as we are entering the 10th year of our school is sustainability of the program and passing it on to the graduating students, which we are training and mentoring to take our place, and training, these emerging young musicians to be professional musicians, but also to be teachers for those who are interested in doing that. So just a bit about our program, about our orchestral program. So the main idea in that is really to raise young men and women who know that they have a creative voice, to discover that through music and to be able to express themselves and be cultural ambassadors for their country. And what we're doing is really raising a first generation of musicians, conductors, and composers. So we have an all-female orchestra, the Zora Orchestra, which is the first and the only all-women orchestra in Afghanistan. And we are training young female conductors, and we are, doing international tours. And it's really giving them a platform to realize their potential as young women, and to also be a part of raising their voices for all the other girls in Afghanistan. And the other thing that we have been working on is our National Symphony Orchestra, which just started beginning this year. And we have 2 young student conductors who are conducting that orchestra, but also arranging music. And one of the amazing things that happened at the beginning of the year when we had our annual gala concert is that the conductors made arrangements of Afghan folk music. And in these orchestras, we have, all the Western classical typical instruments of the orchestra, as well as Afghan instruments. And so they had to make these arrangements, and it was just incredible to see them pick music from different parts of Afghanistan and to present, the rich cultural and musical heritage that Afghans have, which a lot of people, and including Afghans themselves, do not know about. And then we have the Afghan Youth Orchestra, which is really a good playing field for the younger students who are between the junior years of grade 6 to grade 9, to try out, to learn how to use their instruments and play their instruments in a large ensemble. So we have that as well. And one of the things that we face here, which is related to the security situation is that we really have limited concert opportunities, unfortunately. There's no concert hall here. There's, and public performances are actually quite dangerous. And so a lot of the times, even when we do get invited to perform in events or in embassies, those may get canceled at the last minute because of the security situation. So our distance learning and portal program has been essential to motivating our students and helping them to share their music, giving them a way to also learn from people around the world. So I'll mention briefly about the portal program. That is in partnership with a US-based company called Shared Studios, and they have a huge network of portals around the world. And basically, they specialize in audiovisual immersive technology, which is basically, if you can imagine, it's like a giant Skype, and it's life size. And so we can play music together with people on the other side in another part of the world. We can have music lessons. We can even have a small ensemble, and we've done that before, performing for each other in music exchange. So that has been a really amazing way for us in Kabul to be connected to the world and to be able to share our music, and for our students to also be able to communicate what they're going through here, both in the positive ways as well as in what is really going on in Afghanistan beyond the news and the media and what's put out there. Yeah, and in terms of training the graduates at our school, I have been working on creating a music pedagogy curriculum for the senior years of grade 13 and 14. And that has been an interesting process of, understanding what the education system here is like and what a lot of students before they came to our school, what they experienced, and really a process of mentoring these senior students and those who are especially interested to work with our school after their graduation, to equip them with the skills to be the next generation, the first generation of music educators in Afghanistan. And finally, in terms of engaging the community and advocating for music and music education, we do that well through our Winter Academy program. So that's something that we do every year. So during the winter months, most of the schools in Afghanistan close because they don't have the facilities for heating and that sort of thing. And so we then choose to have school during that time because otherwise students will have nothing to do at home. They may be freezing at home. So we get them to come to school, and then we also invite students from local schools to come and join us for those 3 months for a winter music program. And then we invite guest artists from different parts of Afghanistan to come and to share their music and to also learn with us and to learn from us. And during those weeks, we have a weekly concert where we invite kids from local orphanages or members of local community organizations to join us and to be exposed to music and to concerts, and which for many of them would be their first time. So that's an example of our portal, and we were connecting with musicians in the Swedish Royal Academy of Music. So really quickly, just finally, I wanted to go back to Arsen, who is an amazing pianist here and a very creative young man with a very soft heart for social justice issues. So something that happened last year, I won't talk about Farkunda because you can see that in the video and find out more about it. But I wanted to talk about a piece that he wrote called Freedom. Last year in May, there was a twin bombing that happened that was carried out by ISIS, and 13 journalists were killed. And my student came to me looking so distraught, and he said, here to see them losing their lives like that. And I said, well, what are you going to do about it, and how are you going to express that? Maybe through music. And he said that he'd gone to the piano and played something, and music just flowed from him out of his anger and out of his grief about the situation. So he played it for me, And I was so moved and touched by it. I felt like praying, I felt like crying. And then I said to him, do you have a title for this piece? And at the time he said, no, I can't think of anything. So then we had a conversation about freedom and what he dreams freedom to be like in his country, and about freedom of expression and how we can do that through music and all that. And I remember saying to him, I hope that all of Afghanistan gets to hear this piece, because it is saying something. And rather than fighting back with violence or with anger or with accusations, you have chosen to do something through music, and to use the soft power of music to say something, to challenge the injustice that happened, and to make a statement for freedom on behalf of all the Afghans who are suffering in this war. So what happened that was very interesting after that conversation, a few weeks later, he got to perform at an event, and he decided to play this piece. Someone who had a contact with the BBC recorded it and sent it to their contact. And it turned out that they were interested in the story, so they came to our school and they interviewed Arsen, they interviewed me, and they recorded him playing the piece and ended up doing a feature on it, which was broadcasted on BBC Afghanistan. And then later, other news agencies caught on to the story, and they also broadcasted about this piece and the music that Arsen made because of the twin bombing that happened. And I always recall this, you know, in the darkest moments, because it reminds me what I always tell my students, and it reminds me why I'm here and why they're still here. I always tell them, don't just play the music of the past, or the music that I'm giving you. Like, don't just play that Chopin ballade. Create music for your generation that speaks for your times. And I would say that this is probably the main thing that I truly believe in, that music can express the message, the thing that they can't express in words, or that they might get into trouble for by expressing in words. So that's a story, just one story of what music can be in Afghanistan, and just how far-reaching it can be when it's music that has been created from the heart. It is something that wants to be heard. I know that the time is short, so I'll just leave it at that. I think I've shared enough of the challenges that we're facing here and the stuff that we're trying to do to address them. So yeah, thank you for listening. If you have any questions, please message me. And I'll leave you guys with that photo that Arsen had taken, and the last statement: this is how we fight back without instruments.
Incredible. Thank you so much, Janielle. Well, I don't know how everyone else is feeling, but I'm kind of feeling like my day job is just cracked up the incredible work that we've heard about tonight. I want to invite our speakers back. If Janet and Safira will please turn on your videos, your webcams.